Hello, and welcome back to the Overcome Yourself podcast. As you know, my name is Nicole. I'm so excited to be here today with, wait, I didn't ask, is it Cassandra or Cassandra?
Cassandra.
Cassandra. Okay, welcome, Cassandra. I'm so excited to have you here. And we actually met through Brooke, and I think Brooke is going to have her own episode. So I'm so grateful that she brought us together. Can you tell us a little bit more about you? I know that you are in the faith industry, I guess. I don't know how to say that, if I'm saying that right.
That's fine. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you for having me, Nicole. First and foremost, I've had a chance to listen to your podcast. I love it. So this is a treasure to be here with you. So thank you for that. Yes, my name is Cassandra. I am the owner and CEO, founder of Lisa's Believe Ministries. And that's a ministry. It's a personal ministry designed to lift women to believe in their self-worth and use their unique abilities to bring their dreams to life, God's way through my coaching and through some of my programs that I offer under Lisa's Believe Ministries. And so that's basically what I do. I'm a life coach. I like to say I'm a mind, body, spirit life coach,
Love it.
Yeah, I love to really get to the whole of you, the whole part of you.
I love it. And you were telling me before we started recording that you were feeling called to talk about insecurities. So I want to dive into that. Tell me about insecurities and I guess how we can overcome those insecurities, right?
Oh yeah. So I don't know. A lot of people don't they know they have insecurities, but they don't want to recognize it. They just prefer to ignore it. And so first of all, let's define insecurities. And I looked it up, and insecurities, it has a lot of definitions. And so I put mine, because this is what I was going through. And so I said social insecurities is you not owning your confidence in your unique abilities to do well with what God has given to you for you to succeed in social settings as your true self. Now, that's the way I define it, and it works for me. And so, and I put it that way because, again, those were the things that I was dealing with, as a child and into my adulthood. And so basically what I was dealing with is not showing up as my true self, being afraid to speak, whether I was in as an adult, whether I was in a team work meeting, I was afraid to speak up, thinking that what I had to say was inadequate. It didn't matter what I had to say, or whether I was in a social gathering, especially with females. I was afraid to hold conversations due to feelings of insignificance or just shyness. I was very shy and self-conscious of my surroundings, self-conscious of my hair or what I was wearing, what shoes I had on. And I think a lot of, especially females, can relate to what I just said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I know I can.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yes. And it's just what you said just brings so much, like there's so much good stuff in there. Making me think of a book I read, The Confidence Code. How like the stuff that you're saying is like scientific. Like we've got like research and everything behind this.
Yeah.
And so we have the competence. As women, we strive for competence. And what we don't realize is that we already have, like we've been going in, we've been so focused on being competent that we are beyond competent. And the problem that we have is that we don't have the confidence to speak to that competence.
Yes.
That was really good. I'm going to quote myself on that. And so like the example, and I saw that it went around on social media, that it comes from this book is when we as women, when we're looking, for example, at a job application, we will look at it and we will know 90% of the things that are on there. And then we'll be like, oh, I don't know this 10%, so I don't qualify.
Yeah.
Where a man would look at that and they would be like, I know about 60% of this stuff. I can figure out the rest.
Right.
And then we're like, oh my God, why do they get better opportunities? It's because they took them. Where we were like, oh, I'm not competent enough. And the dude was like, I'll figure it out. And so there's so much depth in that. And it's not just, you know, it goes into so many things, not just in faithfulness, but, you know, to bring in, like, there's research, there's women that are out there that are talking to generals, like generals in the military, who are still dealing with these things. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. This is important stuff.
This is important, and we don't hold enough conversations about this. We don't. And where I would like to go with this is where do these insecurities come from? You know, and so I can only speak for myself. And this took some, you know, I had to do some searching, some soul searching for this. And I realized that my insecurities came from my childhood, you know, my childhood, probably since 5th grade. So I had a good childhood, but we moved around a lot. My stepfather was a pastor, so we moved a lot, but we settled. By the time I got into 5th grade, we settled. I come from a family there's 7 of us, so I'm the only girl. So I have 6 brothers, and so and so we moved. I thought I was. No, I really am. I really am. I was a tomboy growing up, trying to keep up with my brothers, and so. But when we moved from we were raised in Missouri, the state of Missouri, and we moved from one city to another city because my father was a pastor. And I guess that move is what triggered me to start, you know, going into a shell. And I didn't understand. I'm like, why did I go into a shell in 5th grade? And it was because I left, you know, my parents moved, and I left all of my friends, my childhood friends that I grew up with since preschool, kindergarten, and we moved. And here I am now in 5th grade, and most relationships have already formed, you know, especially at the school that I was at. It was one of those type of schools, you know, everyone had their little groups. And here I was, this new girl, my brothers and I, and it was hard for me to find where I fit. I've never been teased before. And then all of a sudden I'm introduced to teasing. I've been teased by my brothers, of course, but I was never ever teased by my friends in the town that I grew up in. And now we've moved, and now I'm being teased. I'm being looked at. My clothes are being evaluated. My hair is being evaluated. And then I'm like, becoming like, whoa, you know, am I supposed to look a certain way? Am I supposed to talk a certain way? And that's where my roots begin. That's where my shyness began. So I think it's very important that people really try to understand the root of it, the cause of it, because it just doesn't come on its own. It doesn't show up on its own. Why do we as women, or why did we as individuals, you know, have these insecurities?
That's powerful. And I think that there's a lot societally, there's a lot of expectations that are placed on us, you know, to be good girls and to be quiet and to stay in line and to, you know, I remember when I was little, my mom passed away when I was 1.5, and I ended up being raised by her grandparents, so my great grandparents. And so it was pretty old school, you know, like when I was little, I was raised, I knew how to cook, I knew how to clean, I knew how to sew, because like that's the way that things happen. And I remember wanting to go outside and mow the lawn, because my brother was being asked to mow the lawn, and I wanted to mow all right, let's do it. And, you know, my grandparents coming out and being like, girls don't belong here. You need to go inside. My grandpa would be like, go inside and learn how to sew something. I'm like, I already learned how to sew. I want to add this to my skill set, right?
You look right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of expectations as well that are placed on us. I think that has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say I love what you said. I can relate to you. Of course I was raised by my mother and my stepfather, but being the only girl with six brothers, I was told you need to be in the house. You need to learn how to cook. You need to but I wanted to be outside with my brothers, and I wanted to horseplay, and I wanted to learn to do what they were doing. So I can relate to everything you're saying.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to play football because that's too rough. Like I wanted to be out there tackling dudes. Like, let me hit some dudes. Why not?
Yes. Yes,
You know, when you're little, right? Like, so, and I was older than them. So like size wise, we were about the same size, you know, because my brother was 2 years younger than me. So like it was, you know, I could take him up until we became teenagers, you know, but I was like, let me play football.
right, right. Like,
And so
I could be the
in
quarterback.
that, no, I was no, not quarterback. I could throw, but I was better at catching, so I played wide receiver a lot. So I
Yeah,
was on the outside running and catching. Yeah. So
love
I
it.
played a little bit. I don't like watching football, like sports, like I find it boring. But like
Yeah,
I'll go out there and play some basketball, play some football,
yeah,
you know, like if I can get in it, that's, you
yeah.
know, that's
I
fun.
hear you. Yes, yes, yes.
Right? But not
Yeah.
watching other people. So you became very shy. This mimics a lot of what I talk about in my book as well. I moved, my parents made me move for my senior year of high school. And so that
Oh
that
no.
brought its own set of challenges, and not even having time to really acclimate, right? Like you're in for 1 year and then you're out.
Like what?
Um,
Are you kidding me?
yes, and so and that yeah, so there was a lot of issues that came with that as well. But and the shyness and speaking, right? Because when I was little, I was told I talk too much, and so I got really quiet and I wouldn't talk, and that caused a lot of issues on its own. um and then that's kind of where I kind of had to rediscover myself,
Yeah.
and I overcame myself. That's where my book came from, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm sure that you have this journey to overcoming where your perspective shifts. So can you tell me a little bit about how you overcame that shy girl and are now
Yeah.
being a life coach? Like you're transforming other people's lives. That's
Yes,
amazing.
indeed. Yes, ma'am. So, I mean, it took a while. So I don't sit here and tell you my whole life story, but I learned how to fake it, right? I learned how to fake it in life. I graduated from high school as a shy girl, but I had a mindset that I was meant to do more. Like I knew in my heart that I was meant to do more. And so I left home, I went to college, but that didn't work out because I haven't dealt with my little negative,
Mhm.
negative energy, negative vibes, negative voices. But I did leave home and I ended up moving to Texas, in 91. And I opened up a daycare. I opened up a home daycare. It was a registered home daycare, because I knew I was meant to be more. Whether I went to school or not, I still had this energy in me to be more and to do more. And so I opened up my daycare, eventually became a licensed daycare. I'm having to hire people. I'm having to network with people. I'm having to do training and train my staff. And I could do it. I'm faking it, but I'm dealing with anxiety all at the same time because I have not dealt with the issue. And so
Right.
I wanted to deal with the issue because I knew I wanted to be more. I knew that I wanted to step into speaking, public speaking. I wanted to step into coaching, but how could I if I haven't dealt with my own issues? And so I did the worst, the worst thing that my mother, would even agree about. I went and found me a therapist. And why I say I did the worst, it's because I was raised in the 80s and
Mhm.
you did not do therapy. Therapy was a no-no. My mother taught us that we do not tell our business whatsoever. So that finding a therapist wasn't easy for me. That was something that I had to pray on, and it was something that I thought was a sin, because we
Mm.
were also taught to take your problems and your issues to God in prayer and to no one else. And so I was dealing with a lot. Am I doing wrong? Is God going to be mad at me? Is he going to forgive me? And I'm young, I'm in my 20s, so I don't know no better. And so anyway, I still go to therapy, and it's there in therapy where my therapist helps me to figure out my thoughts. She helps me to figure out my emotions, and she helps me to figure out where it all began and where it came from. Because in the beginning, I'm still thinking that it's me, it's my fault. Everything that happened to me, all the teasing, everything, even my childhood trauma, everything is happening because of something I did, because of the way I looked, because of the way I spoke, because of the way I dressed. So I'm still dealing with those negative voices. And so, but going to therapy was the first step. And again, this wasn't something that happened overnight. It's a process. Therapy is a process. And while in therapy, I also wanted to, my stepfather was a pastor. And so of course we were raised in church, and Wednesday night we were in church. Church was in us, let's just put it like that. And so even though church was in me, I personally did not have a relationship with God. I was just riding the waves. This is just what we do as a family. And so on top of going to therapy and believing that God was mad at me, I also had to learn, well, who is God? And why would he be mad at me? And so then I made the decision to try to get to know who God was for my life. And so that would be the turning point for me taking on my social anxiety and everything else that came with it. And so that's what it took for me to turn this around.
Something that you said there's such a big deal. I don't know if you've heard of Pastor Ben Corson. He does a morning show. I might be a local one,
Okay.
but he also has some books. Optimisfit is a really good book.
Okay.
And Pastor Ben Corson, he struggled with depression, so he's very open about that. So that might be a great resource. Like, he was a great resource for me. But one of the things he talked about, I think it was him, I'm pretty sure it was him, is that what we believe about God can actually affect our brain. And so if we believe that God loves us, that we are connected to a God that loves us, there's an area of our brain, I don't remember which one it is, that can actually grow. And if we are living with guilt, if we feel like we are hated by the universe, by our creator, if there's like guilt, if there's anger, there's actually a part of our brain that can actually get smaller. And so this is scientific stuff that you're talking about here. And that's all about perception.
Yeah.
And how you view the universe and how it actually affects you internally. Isn't that amazing?
Good. That was good. Yes.
And so one of the things that I love is that he'll bring the science back into it, and he'll be like, here, let me explain, like, this is biblical, but let me show you how we have actually proven that this is actually true. And so that's one of the amazing things that I've learned from him. And just the power of perception.
Yes.
It's just such a big deal, and knowing and walking and knowing that God loves us, that really, it changes us physically. It's not woo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And knowing who he is, that he loves us, and who he is and what that means, because I felt like I knew who he was, but I thought of him as evil, as someone, not evil, like evil God, but someone who punished. He was the punisher, And so I love what you just said, because it's so true. Once I wrapped my mind around and learned who he really was, the creator of all things, who only creates wonderful things, all things good, then I was able to say, oh, that's who you are. You didn't create me just to punish me. You created me to be something wonderful. You created me to be good, to make all things good. God doesn't create bad. He creates only good. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, so I wasn't created to be shy. I wasn't created to not feel confident. I wasn't created to act like this. I'm acting like this for a reason. It's not because this is who God called me to be. And that's, I was like, oh, okay, God, I'm getting it. And so that's what helped me to turn my thinking around.
Yes. And um, you can't say that you love God and then turn around and be like, but I hate me. Right? There's a difference between worshiping yourself, right? We're not talking about worshiping yourself, but being able to love you the way that he created you,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
if you say, I hate this, I hate my smile, right?
Yeah.
You're saying, I don't like the way you did this. And so there's a lot of power in realizing that it's okay to, and and it comes back to what I've been talking about today, and it's like using what you've got, right? Whatever that weakness is. So like when I was told I talked too much when I was little, right? You talk too much, you talk too much, you talk too much. And now I get paid to talk, right? So it's like using that and changing that perspective.
Yeah.
One of the things I talk about in my book is I was talking too much, yeah, but also I was talking about the wrong things. I spent a lot of time now, I spend a lot of time in my Bible. I spend a lot of time reading books. I spend a lot of time hanging out with people like you. And so now the things that I talk about are different. And
Yeah.
so it's worth listening to me. I'm not just talking, I'm not adding noise into the universe. It's good. Like what I'm talking about, I keep quoting myself. So like I heard once, poor-minded people talk about other people.
Right.
Middle-class people talk about events. But wealth-minded people, they're talking about ideas.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking gossip, right, that's poor-minded things. It's not productive. When we're talking about ideas and this business and the next thing and what God thinks of us, these are ideas, and this is wealth-minded talk. So when we, if you're wealth-minded and because right, poorness is not a state of being, it's a state of mind. And so wealth comes to us in abundance. Like if we look back at the Bible, like Abraham lived on God's leftovers and he was super wealthy.
Yeah.
So like the abundance is in the gratitude and being grateful for what we have.
Yeah.
And then that, that's how the fish turns into like thousands. That's how the fish feeds thousands, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Right. That's right.
I
Oh,
just threw a lot at you. Okay.
oh no, I love it. I love it. I love it. I like how you said you're using your voice now. People told you talk too much. My thing was that I was too quiet. You're too quiet. You're too quiet. But people now tell me you're a great listener. You're a great listener.
Like is using what we've got and turning that into a superpower,
Yeah.
And it's such a big deal. Like I was told I'm too bossy. You're too bossy, Nicole. No, I was a leader. I was exhibiting leadership qualities, and I needed someone to guide me, to help me understand what that meant. Like when you said that you start hiring people and you start having teams, that requires a whole new level of tools, of mindset, of everything. Learning to deal with people. One of the cool things is I got the chance for a year to be the guest services director at my church. And I got to have meetings with the pastor, and I got to go to like the staff meetings for our church. And a lot of what we talked about, like we studied John Maxwell's the leadership book together, right? And we were developing that leadership mindset, because it's not about you anymore. It's about leading other people. And so when we get to this point of getting our 10,000 hours, of everything, now our mission becomes empowering others, right?
Yes.
And like, that's what Jesus did. He just empowered others to do good, right? He's like, do this. And then he empowered others, and he's get others. And so that's what we do. Once we get to the point where we know our stuff, now we get to empower others to help other people.
And we love it. Yeah. And we love what we do. I love that, how you use Jesus and that together. So awesome. But it's so true. I know that I have been empowered to help other women who have experienced the things that we've gone through, who have experienced or still experience it. We help them to take their, sometimes people see a weakness and they take it that we're weak. Your weakness is going to be your superpower. Your weakness is your strength, and so, oh, absolutely.
Even one of my chapters, I talk about, like in movies, how like when we look at superhero movies, like
Mhm.
the weakness, what everybody, it always like, when Spider-Man got bit, that was a weakness. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. And it ended up becoming a strength, right? Like what if he chopped his arm off so that the poison didn't get to him? You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And so yeah, like it's beautiful that whatever, and it's not that it is actually a weakness, right? Because I had another conversation. She's like, I don't want to turn on my weaknesses into superpower. I'm like, no, no, no. We have weaknesses that are going to be there, but it's the perspective and like what we use with it, like if like when I wasn't able, like my back was hurting so much that it hurt to walk, I
Mhm.
didn't try to run a marathon.
Yeah.
I wrote my book instead. Like I was like, what can I do in this moment right now instead of sitting here watching, like there was the show with the wheel, The Price is Right, right? Like when you were in school and you stayed home from school and you watched The Price is Right and Jerry
Yeah.
Springer, you're
Oh
like,
yeah,
what's this
yeah,
about?
that was hey, those were my favorite shows.
When you're staying home from school, like when you were
Yeah,
little, and then like there's
yeah,
nothing on, you're like, yes, I'm gonna watch TV, and you realize, oh
yeah.
my God, they're not marketing to me because I'm supposed to
Right,
be in school. This is all
right.
for like older people.
Yeah, like what else can I do? What else? Because
Yes.
those things affect your mind, And
Mhm.
so I always want to be productive. I always want to be doing something, no matter where I find myself, what circumstance I find myself. I know that I could be doing something productive, no matter where I'm at in life. And so that was awesome, just as well.
No, I just realized that it was because of that weekend. It was horrible. Like I remember like literally dragging myself to the bathroom. But it was because of that weekend that I sat down and I just cranked out that draft that you and I are speaking today. Because I wrote the book and then I started editing it. And I'm like, how can I start marketing my book even though it's not out? And I was
Yeah.
like, I can start talking to people. I can make a podcast. And that, that's led to you and me speaking today. So if I hadn't hurt my back, I wouldn't be here today.
See?
Like you and I wouldn't be talking. So I
Yeah.
think that's awesome.
Oh yeah, and mine was what really pushed me out to start being seen. You mentioned staying quiet. I also, as a girl, I did not feel like I didn't feel powerful. As a child, I didn't feel powerful. Nor did I feel seen. And so I adapted. I adapted to not being seen. I worked well behind the scenes, but again, that's not where God called me to be, and I knew that. And so I had to tell myself, probably during the pandemic, while we were in the midst of the pandemic, what else can I do? And it came to me, you have to be seen. I go, no. And so I had to take that next measure. I had to take that next step, and follow my dreams and follow my desires and get online, get on social media platforms, meet people like yourself, and to tell my story, so that I may be a blessing to other people. And so you're right, being seen and asking yourself, what else can I do? How can I help someone? What is it that God is calling me to do? And so all of this is super good. I'm going to have to go back and listen to this podcast.
Oh yes, yes. And I'll have like the show
Yeah,
notes and everything because this
yeah,
has been
so yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So I want to ask you two more things. First, I want to see if you have any last tips, like any gold nuggets that you can send us off with. And then I'm gonna ask you how we can stay in touch with you. So let's start with the gold nugget.
Oh, so some gold nuggets. I think that I don't know. I think that I think the main thing I would like to share with people is learn to be yourself. I know we hear it all the time, be your authentic self, be your true self. But the reason why you're hearing it is because it's true. It's true. Learn to be your true self, and in order to get through some things, sometimes it takes being by yourself. Sometimes it took me being by myself in order to become the person God wanted me to be, if that makes any kind of sense. And so it took me developing a routine for myself.
Mhm.
Every morning, I spend quiet time with myself. I spend quiet time with God. And that can look like however you want it to look like: journaling, music, prayers, devotions. Every morning I need to stretch. Every morning I need to do some kind of workout. And that's to get my body moving. That's to keep me healthy. I'm an avid walker. I love hiking and walking. I get outside every single day. And these things are just basic things that you can be doing to start getting you on a path, a more successful path. And it seems so basic, but sometimes that's all it takes is basic. I'm also a huge breakfast eater. I have to begin my day eating healthy, eating a nice breakfast, and that could just be a bowl of cereal, but it helps me to get to thinking. It having some food in my stomach, I'm able to think about my day ahead. I'm able to be charged and ready and fueled, and ready to go. And also, I just want to tell people, be patient with one another. I know this world is very
And
big.
with yourself.
Come on, and with yourself. We're just a very busy people. We're always in a hurry. We're always in a rush, and we have no time. Slow down, pause, think before you act. Think before you say, think before you respond, just slow down, be patient, and then be understanding. If we lend an ear, I said, people say I'm a good listener. When we begin to lend an ear, we'll see other people's perspective. Whether we agree with them or not, we're being patient with them. We're listening to them. We're trying to understand them. Therefore, we'll know where they're coming from. We don't know what people's background was. We don't know what they've been through. We don't know why they talk the way they talk or act the way they act. But if we take the time to listen and to be patient with one another, then we're showing love. And when we show love, we're inviting peace into our environment, into our world. And I think maybe that will help the world to be a better place to live in.
Yes, yes, having grace for yourself.
Yes, yes,
Just,
yes, yes.
like, it's okay. It's okay.
Be patient and kind. That's
Yes,
it.
I love it. And something that you mentioned, that you said, these are all simple things. One of the most important habits that I feel that I've built is drinking my water.
Oh, yeah.
And I talk about that in my book with learning habit stacking, replacing
Yeah.
habits.
Yeah.
Right, because I used to drink a lot of soda, so I got myself this cup of water, this
Good for
cup, right?
you.
And it looks like a soda cup, right? It has a little straw. I put my ice in it, but then I always fill it with water.
Good.
And so, like, drink, because I tried to drink water bottles, but then I didn't like the drinking of the bottle, and there was so much, and then I'm driving, and no, but seriously, these are things that you don't think about, and then you
Yes.
kind of just deal with it.
Right. Small things.
Yes. So
Make
now
it-
I just walk around with my cup of water all the time, and
Yeah.
I'm drinking my water.
Yeah.
And what we were talking about sports earlier, when if you're playing a sport, and you're going to practice, you're not practicing all fancy things. You're practicing fundamentals. Can you dribble the ball well? Can how's your footwork? Are you able to run from one side of the court to the other without losing your breath? Like, fundamental things,
Oh,
because those are the things that win games,
yeah.
right? It's not
Okay.
fanciness. It's not
No,
having the fancy shoes.
no,
It's not having like the sweatband. It's none of
no,
that. It's like,
no.
can you dribble to get past these people, right? Can you do the little tiny things? And then it's about building that muscle memory. And that's something that I preach with gratitude. You've got to build up the muscle memory of gratitude when things are going well, so that it's there when things are not going well. Right? Because like, when you're, let's go back to this basketball analogy, because we were talking about how I used to play basketball. So like, if you don't have the muscle memory of dribbling, if you don't have it in place, when things get heated, your brain gets scrambled, you're going to lose control of the ball, right?
Yes.
But if you practice those, and then that's all you do. I remember the Heat. I'm in Miami, right?
Yeah.
So when Shaq was playing on the Heat, that dude cannot make a free throw to save his life. Why? Because I'm willing to bet that he has not spent as much time as Michael Jordan did practicing free throws,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
that is the same with gratitude. Like Michael Jordan was one of the best with free throws, right? Shoom, 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 all the time. Why? Because he's in there practicing free throws.
Yeah.
Shaq was practicing something else, and that's fine. He's good at other things, but free throws was not his thing. Like I remember my 60-year-old Nana in the living room, like going, like this, dude. It's like this during the championships, right? And that's how it is with gratitude. Like we've got to build it up when things are going well. So like the AC is going, be grateful for it, because you know one day it's not going to be there, and then instead of being pissed off, right? And so like little things like that, and that works well also. Like I learned about this really when I lost my baby. Like I had a miscarriage, and I had to figure out what can I grab onto so that I don't disappear too. And I had to learn gratitude, and I learned to be grateful for right this second, and that was hard. So now that I practice it regularly, when things get hard, I don't have to go so low because I can focus on my gratitude. And everyone I've done like 3 interviews today so far, and everybody that I've talked to, we talk about being your authentic self. So I just want you to know that this is like huge. This is key. If you get anything else from the Overcome Yourself podcast, it's time to be yourself.
Yes, be yourself. Yes. Oh, those were all good. Good.
Awesome.
Be yourself. Gratitude just for anything, little bitty things. I'm grateful. Just right now, I'm facing the window. The sun is shining. Everyone's like, it's so hot, 103 degrees. But you know what? I'm so thankful for this weather. I'm so thankful that we're not sitting in freezing. I'm in Texas, so I'll take this over freezing weather anytime. And the electricity being off, and you know, I'm freezing cold, so I'll take this weather. So just be grateful, like she said. Totally agree.
I love it. So how can we stay in touch with you? Do you have a newsletter? How can we find out more about what you've got going on?
So the best way, so for right now, the best way, I'm on Facebook. My business page is Cassandra Branch. Hopefully you'll put a link for that with spellings and everything.
Links will be in the show notes.
Cassandra Branch. I'm on Instagram, Miss CY Branch. And if you would like to work with me, just DM me from Facebook. Once you're on Facebook, you'll see my website. You'll see my group. I will invite you to my group or accept you to my group.
What is your group? Tell us the name.
Oh yeah, Rising Up Woman of Faith. Yeah.
Love it.
Our group where we give you nuggets and gems about just how to apply your faith on a regular basis, and step into your true self and step into your success. You know, start that business that you're thinking of, or maybe you're just ready to start working on yourself. It doesn't matter where you're at. We are there for you. We believe in you.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. This has been absolutely wonderful. You can find us online. Make sure that you follow, you like, you subscribe, you do all the good stuff. You guys know, I don't got to tell you. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.
Thank you, Nicole. Love you. Keep up.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.